But I'm sure I'll see you all again soon. I'm going to go play with Roger a little bit more. Eventually he'll tell me what I need to know. He reaches into the void behind his armor. You kind of see him peel peel away some of his breastplate, and there's just like this darkness. He sticks his hand in, pulls out this like blood-looking ruby, and crushes it and disappears.
I was gonna say, as he's doing all that, could I reach in and grab my GPS tracker, chuck it at him with a sleight hand, Batman style, track him later, like, I know where he is, guys.
So, we are going to, as we've kind of established in that one session, these skeletons are easy to take down, but hard to keep down. And it's quite a grand melee between dinosaurs and undead, so we're not going to bog down with like an epic standard combat. Basically just...
I'm in trample mode. I'm on the back of brother Three-Horn, and we're just... I'm just kind of giving restrictions. Jump up and down. Move on to the next one. Go. Plow through them.
So yeah, I'm just going to go around the table. You know, David's telling me that he's going to trample around on the Triceratops. If there's anything special or awesome that you want to say that you're doing to deal with, you know, the sand skeletons and or shadows, by all means.
Shadows is their
It'd just
thing.
be, you know, casting Ray of Frost and slashing at him and, you know, freezing him, breaking him.
Throwing her sword, punching, grabbing her sword out of thin air, hacking some
Pretty
heck.
much, yeah. That's pretty much it.
Okay. Is there anything special?
Mizr is killing anything that comes near him, but otherwise is generally not moving too fast. Isn't too motivated to do much right now.
Okay.
You just watch Jorell ride off on a Triceratops.
Oh, I know, and I'm down in that following, and if anything comes near me, I'll take it out, but otherwise, I'm done with this whole mess.
Okay.
You can tell he's not down with the sickness any longer.
Tristan?
I'm going to be moving in to the crowds, kind of trying to get near the middle, and then turn undead.
Okay.
Just to make just huge chunks taken out of the enemy ranks.
Sure. Awesome.
While I'm riding around, I'd just like to keep an eye out for the, just in case he came back, the T-Rex that we wrecked earlier. That wrecked me a little bit earlier, just to see if he's out and about too.
Well, he might have wrecked you a little bit, but you guys wrecked him pretty horribly bad. So, you probably won't see him, but if he pops up, you will notice. He'll stand out.
Yeah, Mizr has a little sensory overload from the last 20 minutes or so.
He's in shell shock mode now, not mass combat mode right now. That's fair.
Yeah. My whole thing is like, my goal is to continually, basically plow through skeletons to free up them to kind of get them to move. I'm almost kind of like trying to gather the troops kind of thing, both herbivore and carnivore together now.
Okay.
It's kind of my goal right now.
Right on.
I would like the next time they see me, I'm actually riding a T-Rex at this point.
Draw me.
That's kind of what I'm going for, is eventually like help out enough that the T-Rex is kind of like, oh, okay, I'm like going to try to convince it. It's like, I need a higher vantage point to help out. I need you, buddy.
I'm not your buddy, guy.
Well, I am a guy, so you're accurate there. I'm not your buddy, pal. I'm not your pal friend.
So yeah, you take out big chunks with your turn undead. You're rallying the troops, you know, going through and Triceratops ramming a bunch of the skeletons, and this just seems mostly like a giant nuisance more than anything else. You're not really like, there's a lot going on. Dinosaurs are taking some fire. They are being wounded. You guys aren't really being touched by anything that's going on for the most part. You're just kind of sweeping through and cleaning up this mess is kind of what you feel like is really going on.
feel like after the first one that would have gotten close enough to Mizr to actually invoke wrath, would have invoked serious wrath, probably been overkilled, and then just pure rage from Mizr in a way that's never been seen before as he just
Maybe
almost
Mizr's gonna
goes
go
into a
barbarian.
berserk.
we now have a
Almost.
barbarian paladin.
As he just kind of lets all of his rage go.
Bear, Ian.
Yep.
Starts going around hitting as much and doing as much destruction as he can.
Okay.
And it's just all pure anger. I mean, he's
He's
even
gone feral.
going too
We knew
far
it.
sometimes. That skeleton's down and dead, now it's powder.
So yeah, Mizr starts embracing his inner bloodlust a little bit.
He's a little mad.
yeah,
He's a little emotional.
He's a little hangry.
Actually, he's still full from the uncle.
Uncle is filling. So as you guys are starting to fully clean up this town, there's not, there's only a few of these sand skeletons left, a few shadows kicking about that you were planning on quickly dispatching and finishing up. You feel the ground shaking. And all the while, the Dragon Knight's basically been standing on the top of the stairs, just kind of like watching you guys go to town. You don't feel like it's so much that he's not doing anything, though you can judge him for not doing anything. You feel like he's sort of assessing you all and what's going on, like the situation. But even it's more not even that he's just like assessing the battlefield. You feel like he's being like judgy or like critical towards each of you, not in a negative fashion, but again more of like assessing your abilities and your skills and how you're going about dealing with the situation. As soon as the rumbling, the ground starts to shake slightly, you hear a thumping, kind of pounding sound like giant footsteps. That's when the Copper Knight's attention seems to draw away from you. And you see this towering skeleton. It is probably one of the biggest bipedal things you've seen ever. Towers over these T-Rexes, massive. You technically only ever really saw the upper torso of Asura. You're guessing he's on par with about the size of the Asura when you had fought him. And he just has this giant sort of like cleaver sword blade thing that he's dragging behind him, like basically creating this giant trench in the ground as he approaches this town that he's towering over. And it's approaching the center of town where a lot of the dinosaurs are kind of congregated. You see it start to take up, start to drag this giant cleaver sword and starts to
I order
swing
like
down.
a quick just half one way, half the other.
Okay. It definitely is one of those, like, it's even for the scale of this skeleton thing, you can tell that the weight of this blade has to be astronomical. So it's taking a
50,
second
60,
to like
70 feet tall.
use its magically undead animated limb to drag it up for the swing. So there's definitely time for the dinosaurs and yourselves to scatter out of the way. So you're telling them to scatter. You're still letting loose on things in a sort of a bloodlust.
Yep. I am. In fact, still.
Yes.
Neriah channels her Shadow of the Colossus and she's going to climb the sword.
Well, kind of what I was thinking. Not the sword. Like, it's a skeleton. Is it wearing anything? Does it have a heart? No.
No, it's just a
Skeleton.
giant animated skeleton
Okay.
with a giant cleaver sword thing.
Still thinking I want to climb
How
it.
tall is it?
Like, is it so huge that if I climb it, it's not gonna really notice me?
It probably would not notice you. Yeah, I mean, we are literally talking like Shadow of the Colossus.
I want to climb it.
I would guess approximately, you're going to guess 300-400 feet, like a building. It's towering over the temple itself. Well, maybe not towering over, it is taller than the temple itself.
Yeah, I want to climb it.
Wait, Asura was that big?
He was big, yeah.
She's just going to like...
I've left I've jammed my sword into the ground, and I'm like,
It's like, what would Urza/Guts do in this situation?
Literally, I have no idea.
Climb it and punch it in the face. Got it!
Big monster! Hulk, for once in your life, don't smash things!
Goal is to get to the skull, I guess. If it doesn't have a heart or
Okay.
something, any kind of
Sure.
yeah.
Make an athletics check to begin the climb, and then I will see what Jerry wants to do.
I don't know which dice to use. I'll suck.
Ah.
10. So
That was
mad.
almost an 18.
Well,
It
it was a 10, so you're able to begin the climb.
Alright.
It will get more difficult,
That's
but you are
fine,
able to start
fine.
traversing the ankle.
Okay.
And Tristan's thoughts are intense.
Well,
So it's like 300 feet tall. It's okay.
Yeah.
Turn on dead.
well, physics tells us that force equals mass times acceleration, which means the best way in order to get a significant force upon these things would be to introduce it to the ground at a rate of about 9.8 meters per second squared acceleration based on its current size.
Get the rope.
In other words, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. I want to use shatter on its knee.
Okay. I'm assuming on the knee of the leg that Neriah is not on.
Hang on, let me make a perception check. I got a 22, so...
So yes, you're able to clearly see the small in comparison Neriah scaling the leg of the
From
skeleton.
people watching on, because we're obviously watching, would anyone know or notice that you were actually specifically going for the knee? I mean, if you were casting a spell.
They would just see him casting a spell. They would
Okay.
not
Cast
really.
the spell, and then it'd be from
Yeah,
the
you might
point
see
of-
him like a magical kind of like
This
ripple.
shimmer.
Yeah.
And you'll hear the boom, because it's
Yeah.
thunder damage, it's a loud
Yeah. Yes.
echoing
Sonic
boom.
I want to. Okay.
Yeah, like,
My original plan was to go for the elbow and break it off, to
Because I
stop
want
the
to use
sword.
myself. I'm going to use myself to bull rush his knee on top of it and try to add the extra to it if I knew that's what you were doing. But that's kind of metagaming, so I don't.
Well, also, I
But
figure,
at least
if
Neriah
he's
running up too, so
400 feet up, the knee's still
50,
40 to  50 feet, yeah.
If not more, yeah.
So I'm pushing the limits of shatter there.
Okay. Yeah. Roll the damage for me. It's Constitution save, correct?
Yes. And if it's made out of, inorganic.
It's inorganic, so it has disadvantage.
I am holding my action to see what Neriah and Tristan are doing,
Okay. Yeah. I definitely fail.
so that I don't
roll the
metagame
d4.
any. Neriah wants to wield that sword.
It's
Bigger than
16 thunder damage.
16 thunder damage.
Which I would then see focused on his knee.
So yes, what you see is you sort of like an invisible force kind of ripple around the knee area. You also see the knee specifically kind of form a small crack in it as you hear this sonic boom kind of go off. It seems to have its knee wobble a tad, and you see a visible crack form, but it doesn't seem to topple it or stop its motion.
So once I can get there, what Mizr will do then is try to run as fast and hard as possible and jump as high as possible, slamming into the leg as close to the knee as possible to see if I can do more damage with just my full force. I'll probably miss and hit his
Ankle!
shin, but it might add an extra crack to it, and if we're gonna...
Okay. Neriah can make another athletics check to get up a little bit further.
I can't see it. Oh, 20. Okay, not natural,
yeah.
but yeah, it's 20 at least.
Okay. So you get up another 15 feet, because it's half movement when you're climbing.
So how high would the knee be then?
It's going to be probably, like Jerry said, about 50-ish feet.
I'm going to find a long neck and I'm going to, walk me
Or is it-
closer, I want to hit it with my stick!
You want to run and shoulder check this thing,
Yeah,
basically?
just armor
Okay.
into
So,
it.
yeah,
and
make
not
an
even worry about
athletics check.
myself. That's a natural 20.
No, that's good. So that's going to be your run and jump, and then roll an attack for
Just
me.
attack to hit.
Yep.
And that'll be a lot less. Because it's not my maul, it's just me running into it, so it's
Yeah,
just
so
strength,
you
right?
strengthen for all your proficiency still.
So you'd still add your attack bonus.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah, your full attack bonus.
11?
Just, yeah.
Seems like it should be higher than that.
That's fine. It's a giant thing. It's hard to miss. So yeah, you shoulder check into it.
He runs, bounds off of a building, jumps into some
I am
trees,
almost
and then like
2,400 pounds with armor on.
and then like
so I might be able to
slingshots
do
off of
another
like 2
check.
trees.
So you are going to notice, actually, as you're about to shoulder check, you feel this tingle in the back of your head, and you're used to the sensation now of what it feels like to pull your maul through things.
Yep.
It actually instinctively, as almost like a protective mechanism, puts almost like a small buckler style shield over your shoulder to protect your shoulder as you smash into it.
Sweet.
As basically a pseudo bludgeoning weapon sort of thing.
Nice.
And rolls. What's a maul? 1d12.
2d6.
Great
Yeah.
swords 2d6. Okay, great
Maul's
maul's 2d6.
2d6.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, basically roll your maul damage.
8 plus my strength is 11. And I'm using more force. I know I'm not going to do a ton of damage, but...
Unfortunately, it was a little bit traumatic to your shoulder also.
Oh, yeah.
So you're going to take 2 points of damage from that. And also, you're now... It's not a huge fall, but you're going to tumble a little bit. You're not going to take any damage from the fall, but you're going to make a acrobatics check to catch your footing.
No problem. Acrobatics?
Yeah.
18.
Okay.
If only we had a trebuchet, we could just load Neriah into the trebuchet,
Right.
shoot her, and then she would just go invulnerable armor and just
Yeah.
But you would have clearly seen me go
Well,
for
you
the
could have
melee
maybe,
unit as
you
well,
could have,
so-
I don't know, asked Mizr next time for the fastball special or
Right.
something. We need to work on a thing where you throw me, okay?
I think Neriah would be better off paradiving into just dropping from the sky into it, just armor. That's the worst.
So, that all goes down and, just basically a few seconds, you guys, your combat instincts kick in, you know what's going on. You all just jump into action. Neri starts climbing, you smash into, you crack the knee, you start, smashing into the leg. It kind of...
Jorell's I'm not jumping that high.
The leg that was shattered and then, bulldozed into basically, it starts to bend a little bit. But you can see it's not hindering its movement or its intentions. It's still pulling this, cleaver blade up, and it's very much just basically a matter of physics and gravity. As the second it hits the tip, it's just coming down. Whether the skeleton wants to swing it at this point or not, it's just coming down with an incredible amount of force. So this giant sword that everyone's just we're all going to even the impact of this is going to destroy whatever it hits, and there's going to be a cloud of dust that's just going to fuck everything up. And there's still a small little bunch of dust kick up from the force and everything, but you hear this giant clanging sound. And a moment ago, the Copper Knight was standing at the top of the stairs. Now, when you look up, you see him standing on top of the temple with just his blade out, one-handed, stopping this giant, massive hunk of metal. And if this was, a cool anime, that's where the theme music would, rise up. And he's just... And you hear him roaring that, you actually can almost feel this energy kind of rippling up off the dragon, the Copper Knight, as he spouts off, again in kind of typical anime fashion, some little line about how awesome he is, where he's I am dragon, first and favorite of wrath, and you see him start to slide his sword and slightly push up, and it goes through the cleaver, the top end of the cleaver starts to just fall with it's this sheer massive weight behind the temple on the other side away from all of you. You hear this giant thump, giant puff of dust and debris, and you hear what sounds like presumably a few buildings that were over there smashed, crap everywhere. He then appears up on top of the hand of the skeleton and rips what's remaining of the sword out of the skeleton's hand. his sword is when you see him kind of just appear up on the wrist, his sword's back on his back as he's two-handed, like ripping this cleaver out of the skeleton's hand and hucking it back over like with the other piece of the sword. And he looks over to the four of you. He's like, "Keep at it. It's going to take all of us to take this thing down." So you can make another attempt to climb.
I'd be looking for any sort of like tactical advantage or arm coming down, just anything like it could jump to get up higher.
Make a perception check.
Yes. 21.
Okay. So I'm going to say that you started to climb the leg opposite the side that had the cleaver, and going for which worked out well because the leg that had the cleaver side on it would have been to a more tactical advantage to try to shatter. So when it was going for that swing with the cleaver, its other hand kind of swings by.
Mm-hmm.
So if you'd like to make an athletics check or acrobatics, whichever you prefer, to jump to the swinging hand.
Ah! That's a weird
You
noise.
have 2 of these.
Oh, I have one of these.
Okay.
Inspiration is great.
Is that,
Yeah, so it gives you advantage.
Roll that one.
Okay, that's better. That's a 20.
Okay.
Oh my god!
So yeah, as
God.
you see this hand start to swing by, and you propel yourself from the leg and are able to grab onto like the swinging middle finger. And make another athletics check to start getting a better foothold and start climbing up this hand as it's going. Roll with advantage on that.
So kind. Oh my god, still a 10. That's
So
great.
what's going to happen
Yay.
is you grab onto like this finger as it's swinging, but again you were grabbing it as it was swinging through, so the hand's kind of now coming up. And as you start to fall, you lose your grip. You are able to make one more athletics check to grab onto the thumb.
I can just see her popping her armor and
Okay,
vulnerability in
that's
midair.
20 again.
It's gonna
hurt.
Like she's been consistently rolling 4s and 14s.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Okay, so anyway.
So as you are able to, in a scramble, grab onto the thumb, you're going to hear the now familiar voice of Alma kind of fade up into your head like, "Manifest claws. Manifest claws."
Oh, manifest claw. And I'll say,
"I can be what you need me to be.
yeah, I was.
Let me help."
I was gonna say, I'm like, okay, Alma, you said you wanted this, so let's do this.
It's like, are you doing like Wolverine claws, or are you doing like claws from your
it's
hands for
whatever.
like
Yeah, well,
ninja?
it's going to be whatever you want to be.
Yeah.
I was envisioning kind of like gauntlets with
Yeah.
like
Like-
enlarged talons kind of things. You could easily just
Yeah.
maneuver like you're used to
Yeah.
maneuvering anyways, instead of the Wolverine.
Right.
stab
Fingernails
stab.
of the bag lady!
Right. Almost like bear claw-ish.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. climbing.
So yeah, you have like this
Fair
Lady
play.
Deathstrike kind of thing
Yeah.
going on now, where like you have these gauntlets forming over your hands, and then all of a sudden just these long nails, these metallic nails are kind of pulling out, and you hear Alna like, though I'm a piece of armor, you can think outside the box, use me, let me help you. And now every time I ask for an athletics check, you can roll with an advantage.
Yay!
Yeah. Oh god.
You are able to. Do you want to like jump onto a brontosaurus, or are you just trying to direct a brontosaurus over to this?
Well, I
thing?
want to be on the head of the brontosaurus because
Okay.
I'm trying to get to the knee that they're going after.
Okay, so you are able to get over to one of the brontosaurus. You want to jump. I'm presuming you're going to jump off the triceratop onto the brontosaurus. Athletics check to jump onto the brontosaurus, or do you want to like legit
Would that be like
dismount?
an animal handling?
Sure, I'll let you do an animal handling.
Animal handling, because it's more just kind of like
Okay,
come down,
Yep.
up
Switch
and
over.
up and I go.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine.
Ooh.
Let's do it on here. Okay. It's gonna be a 9.
9
You
will.
got one of these. Use it.
For this situation,
Yeah.
though, yeah. Should have went with the 11 over here, because that would have been an 18.
Yeah, so the brontosaurus notices you, seems hesitant, starts to lower its head, but is reluctant.
Just put its neck next to the T-Rex's mouth.
I'm not on a T-Rex still. I'm still on a Triceratops.
Oh, I thought you were on that.
Yeah, he's on a Triceratops. But yeah, so the Brontosaurus starts to bring its head down, but it's reluctant, so it's a little bit slow, so you don't quite get on it to it yet. Tristan, Mizr, you guys want to do... I'm assuming another shatter is coming.
Mizr, smite it. The power isn't given to you, it comes from within. And I am going to cast Shatter. That's 14.
14 damage. I don't want to cast Shatter. You can't make me.
No one's might.
You would still have the inspiration anyway.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not
You
saying
don't
it
have
doesn't-
to.
Yeah. So this,
Oh, you weren't using that for you?
No, I'm
No,
just
he was giving
giving
it
it.
to
You
you.
can
Yeah,
give
you
it
can-
to other
you can
players
give it to
in
other
You now have
appropriate,
inspiration.
in appropriately dramatic moments.
Yeah. Yeah, so you see the crack that was already kind of visible on the knee open up and spread. It looks like the kneecap basically is starting to separate a little bit. And Mizr has...
And I threw Mizr into an existential crisis.
A little bit.
Well, my favorite part about like this moment right now is like, as a player, JR has a lot going through his head, but in that moment, Mizr would probably have a lot going through his head too.
But with all the adrenaline pumping, like the world's going in kind of slow motion.
Yeah, exactly.
And right
yeah.
now, Mizr doesn't know what's real, what isn't, what's happening.
Is this
He's
so
been deceived. He's not sure.
Is this just...
I'm going to use one of my inspirations on top of it.
Well, he gave that to you, so it's not automatically
Yeah.
being used.
Oh, I thought it
that's
was
just
just
now
used.
one of your
Okay.
inspirations.
I will use it, screaming out, if there is any goodness in you, CERN, end this now. And with just as much radiant light coming off me as probably ever in this one moment, Akabaris will come to my hand, and I will try to hit the crack, lowest point, the highest that I can, but at the lowest point to try to finish it off.
Are you burning a second level slot? You don't,
Yes,
you
I
don't
am.
have third levels yet, right?
He actually doesn't have to declare that until he sees whether or not he hits.
Well, okay, well, I'm curious what his intent is.
Yes, I'll do
yes.
it with a second level.
Okay.
But this
Yes,
is another big anime moment.
Yes. It's going to be.
Yeah.
Or it could be. Or it will be.
Well, you have advantage since you're using.
Yeah, you're rolling 2d20. Taking the best around.
Yeah, so that 27 will hit.
So you're going in for the swing. The swing looks good. You start to manifest Akabaris. As Akabaris starts to manifest, you start to charge up with radiant energy. And you're feeling this overflow of power more than you've ever felt from any kind of divine channel that you've ever done.
Yeah, if there's any goodness in you,
And-
sir, prove it now, pretty much.
Akabaris gets to his full engorgement, as it were. his normal full.
This isn't even his final form.
Maul size, and as that smite and that divine channeling starts to flow through you and into Akabaris, you actually get almost like an impression of a hint of pain from Akabaris, as like you can actually visibly see like this like white like energy and almost like a crackling electricity kind of like start rippling down like the tang and the handle of the maul into the head of the maul. And as you see this energy hit the end of the maul, it like triples in size.
Jeez.
So it went from like it's a large size great maul for Mizr to just like anime over the top, boom, as you're going in for the kneecap.
The
Stop.
anime mall.
Every time.
All right.
And you can add. You're gonna roll your damage dice twice.
Nice. $29, 32, no, 29, 34. So 34 for the first one. 34 again. For the second one.
So yeah, it hits. Because you're technically not jumping high enough to hit the knee. You're hitting like a little bit below the knee. But where you hit, your was it the
Shin.
femur? Yeah, the
Femur's the upper.
Yeah. What's the? I can't remember the shin bone.
Shin.
Whatever. We don't science here. So you hit the shin bone, and you actually see it crack. Like you don't snap it right in half. It doesn't, come off, but it cracks. Not just a crack, but a bend in the, with the crack. So it starts to lose its footing. When this happens, its hands kind of flails up.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
And gives you a perfect moment to, if you'd like to, roll an acrobatics or athletics, whichever you prefer.
Yeah.
Jump to the head.
Jump to the head.
Yeah.
22.
22.
You are able to easily jump to the head. You had such a good position that you didn't even have to like jump and grab with your hands. You're actually able to try to jump and land with your feet. You go to jump and maybe for like a split second, you're like, maybe this one's not a good idea. It's a big, smooth, bald skull head, but those similar to what you have in your hands, you feel all the streak down your legs to your to the greaves. Boom, and all of a sudden you feel like it's just almost like a bird talon kind of thing. Like two pop out of the front, one out of the back, grabs into this skull, and now you're standing on the head. And if you'd like, you can take an action from there.
Your hands are free.
Right, I know. I was gonna snap.
Yep, snap
Grab
your
my
sword to
sword.
your...
Time for some open head surgery.
As you start to swing your sword, you're going to hear the Copper Knight. Neriah, the self that you saw in the test reflected the true you. You have more power than you even realize yet. Put everything you have into this swing and your sword will help you.
Even if it's just for fluff, can I have lightning kind of shoot out from my sword or whatever?
You'll be hearing from my lawyer.
You activate shocking grasp kind of thing on the sword.
That would be cool and all, but I already used. But essentially, yeah. I mean, like it's just for fluff.
Shocking grasp is a cantrip, so but yeah, it's one of the others. But yeah. Oh, sure. Energy's flying off you.
It's a
12 to hit, we'll still hit.
It's a big giant
This thing
round
has
surface.
AC
Not
10.
dodging.
Oh my god, that's it. Alright.
Why is it so high?
So you're going to have a similar, though exceedingly different moment with your sword.
Okay.
I just want you to make a d20 check for me. I'm not going to tell you what it is.
12.
You rolled a 12. Okay. Roll. Do you have a charisma modifier?
2.
Okay. Good enough. You're able to the words of the Copper Knight echo through your head. And at first, you don't really recall exactly what he meant, but you remember that in your little trial thing, the evil Neriah had this weird effect with her sword. So yeah, basically what happened is the blade of the sword shattered into a bunch of different pieces, but still moved with the motion of the blade and kind of was shredding at you.
Okay.
Well, you're actually doing a slightly different effect. You're swinging with your sword, and as you hit, you hear a sonic boom, thunderous attack, similar sounding to the shatter that Tristan is doing or has been doing to the knee.
She's got a shatter sword?
So yes, you hit the skull. Your blade physically hits it. What you see is your sword actually has what almost looks like fracture marks all up and down the blade. Mm-hmm. Again, when you actually make the contact, there's a sonic boom that goes with it, and you can feel the energy of the blade kind of trickling down your hands and up your arms. Not the same sensation as Alna gives you, but you've actually been privileged in the past to have touched a magic item and known what the sensation of touching a magically imbued item is. Though this sword that has been on your persons for years now has never given you that sensation, you are now feeling it. And the top of the skull has this large crack that starts to ripple down over the top of it. It doesn't split in two, but you have a large crack that goes down. You hear the Copper Knight, "Good, do better." And technically you have a second attack, because you are level 7 fighter.
I am, yeah. That's that right there. That's not much either. Math is a thing, and
Over 10?
13, yes. 14.
So the same thing's going to happen again. You know, you come down with the sword, you hit, you hear a sonic boom, or a thunderous kind of clap, however you prefer to envision it in your mind, and the crack on the top of the skull opens up more and spreads further down. For those of you on the ground, you're even able to start seeing like this crack kind of start to come over the forehead. It's not stopping it. It's not it's not down, but you're making noticeable, visible headway.